Night fell on Earth nearly 1 million years ago. The last light of the sun vanished below the horizon, leaving the landscape submerged in darkness. The chirping of insects blended with the distant roars of predatory beasts. In that world, when night descended, most creatures could rely only on instinct to find shelter and wait for the return of dawn. A small point of light unexpectedly appeared in the darkness. A group of primitive humans sat around a fire, where its light and warmth helped them banish the dark and reduce the threat of predators. That tiny flame changed the destiny of humankind. Not only did it help them survive the night, but it also initiated a chain of changes spanning hundreds of thousands of years, from diet and hunting methods to the birth of civilization. Yet, surprisingly, humans were not the first creatures to lay eyes on fire. So why is it that only we turned it into a tool that changed the entire world? Back then, fire did not belong to humans. It appeared only when nature allowed it. Lightning striking dry forests could create blazes lasting many days. Lava from volcanic eruptions was more than enough to scorch the vegetation in its path. Long before humans ever walked the earth, fire existed as a part of nature. To most animals, fire held only a single meaning: danger. They fled at the sight of smoke and flames because staying behind meant death. To this day, there is no evidence that any animal ever learned to harness fire for its own livelihood. Yet, at some point in evolutionary history, the ancestors of humankind did the unprecedented. They did not yet know how to create fire. Instead, they learned to keep it. Whenever they stumbled upon a natural fire, they sustained the burning embers by constantly adding dry twigs and leaves. The crucial thing was not starting the first fire, but making sure it never went out. That small step kicked off a massive transformation. And archaeological traces suggest that the earliest humans capable of this feat were likely Homo erectus. This human species emerged roughly 1.9 million years ago and persisted for a very long time. Their bodies were much closer to those of modern humans than their earlier ancestors. Moving on 2 legs, crafting stone tools, and expanding their living range into regions outside of Africa. These traits indicate that they had successfully adapted to their environments and organized their lives more effectively. The first major piece of evidence was discovered at Wonderwork Cave in South Africa. When excavating deep soil layers within the cave, archaeologists found ash, burned bone fragments, and traces of charred vegetation dating back about 1 million years. What makes this notable is that these traces were found far from the cave entrance. If the fire had been caused simply by a wildfire, it would be highly unlikely for ash and charcoal to appear so deep inside. This discovery suggests the fire was likely brought inside and maintained there. Another site reinforcing this conclusion is Gesher Benat Yaakov in present-day Israel. There, researchers uncovered clusters of seeds, burned wood, and stone tools concentrated in fixed locations dating back about 790,000 years. The distribution of these artifacts does not match the random footprint of a wildfire. Instead, they indicate that humans repeatedly used fire in the exact same spot, creating stable living areas. While it cannot be definitively proven that Homo erectus was the absolute first species to control fire, all available archaeological evidence points in that direction. It shows that using fire was no longer a rare event, but a recurring activity deeply integrated into their daily lives. While the ability to make fire independently remains a mystery, current archaeological evidence suggests that the primary source of fire used by early humans still came from nature. Following wildfires sparked by lightning or volcanic activity, what set humans apart was that they refused to let the flame vanish after it appeared. To sustain a fire, glowing embers had to be kept hot enough and constantly fed with twigs, dry leaves, or other combustible materials. If the fire went out completely, the entire group might have to wait a very long time before encountering another natural source. Consequently, tending the fire became a vital responsibility for the whole community. Over time, the hearth gradually became the communal gathering spot for the group. Gathering together to maintain the fire also meant humans returned to the exact same location after hunting or foraging. For the very first time, humans were not just adapting to nature, They were keeping one of nature's raw forces right by their side. From this point on, the impact of fire began expanding into many aspects of life, from how humans ate to the development of society as a whole. One of the most distinct changes took place directly in how humans ate. Previously, most meat and plants were consumed raw, making chewing and digestion an arduous, time-consuming process. Once food was cooked, it became softer, and the body absorbed energy much more efficiently. Humans no longer had to spend the better part of the day just chewing. Unlike many other primates, this richer source of energy allowed the brain to continue developing across generations. The human brain consumes a vast amount of energy compared to other organs. So more efficient calorie intake is viewed by many scientists as a key driver of human evolution. Fire changed not only the body, but also the way humans survived. Light and heat helped ward off numerous predators, making the dark nights no longer as perilous as before. For the first time, humans could extend their activities well after the sun went down. The hours spent huddling around the fire gradually became a crucial part of communal life. This was when hunting experiences, tool-making techniques, and various other skills were passed down from one person to the next. The influence of fire further extended into tool-making. Wood was heated over flames to make it harder and more durable before being fashioned into hunting spears. Through successive stages of development, humans also began using fire to process various materials, laying the groundwork for increasingly complex technologies. From a single flame preserved from the wild, human creativity began branching out in an entirely new direction. All of these changes did not start with Homo sapiens as many people commonly assume. Homo sapiens only appeared around 300,000 years ago, whereas traces of human fire control date back between 790,000 and nearly 1 million years. This indicates that the skill was forged by an older human species. Based on current evidence, Homo erectus is still regarded by many researchers as the earliest human species capable of controlling fire. This also demonstrates that many critical milestones in evolutionary history were not forged by modern humans, but accumulated through generations of predecessors. When Homo sapiens finally appeared, they inherited a world where using fire was already a standard part of life. That very foundation enabled modern humans to further advance technology and build the civilizations of later eras. To this day, the biggest blank space in the story of fire remains the exact moment humans figured out how to create it themselves. Archaeological traces show that the use and control of fire emerged very early on, but they do not reveal how the very first spark was struck. Some researchers suggest that Homo erectus only knew how to capture naturally occurring fires and stretch them out for as long as possible. Under this hypothesis, the technique of making fire independently only emerged in later human species, once tools and crafting skills had advanced further. If true, fire-making was not an invention that popped up overnight, but the result of progress stretching across countless generations. So far, there is still insufficient archaeological proof to confirm which hypothesis is correct. Each new discovery simply adds another piece to the puzzle regarding the origins of fire in human history. Even so, what science has uncovered so far is enough to reveal one profound truth. From preserving a single ember in the wild wilderness, humans gradually turned fire into the cornerstone of their own advancement. We may never know the name of the first person who kept a flame alive. Yet that seemingly simple act opened an entirely new chapter in evolutionary history. From a tiny flicker of light in the dark, humans step by step transformed how they survived, learned, and evolved, ultimately building the world we live in today.